Yeah.
Um,
There's a couple questions here about doing electives in Canada. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience, kind of how you improved your chances to match here in
yeah.
Canada?
Yeah, so that's probably one of the most important things to do is get exposure kind of back in Canada so that you can get those reference letters. But there's a lot of opportunities to do this. I went at the time, I was at University of Sydney. There was a relationship with Toronto, I believe. I didn't actually get that opportunity because there's only a certain amount of spots, so other people got that opportunity. So then I went through just the traditional way, which is through a website called AFMC. And you can apply to all of the schools across Canada for electives as an IMG. There's different ways for each school. And I was able to get an elective I did nephrology at the University of Toronto, which I always wanted nephrology, so that was great for me. I did infectious diseases at Queen's, and I was able to do an emergency medicine rotation at Ottawa. And those were like vital for my exposure to Canada and getting those reference letters. And then I also was able to do another elective as well in the States. So I was able to secure an elective at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and that was also extremely vital for all of my applications as well. So there's a lot of opportunities to go overseas. So when you think about it, that was 4 months that I spent away from Australia, getting exposure to other things. And yeah, they were great experiences.
How common is it? There's a question here. How common is it for students to do electives in the States or in Canada coming from Australia?
Doing them in Canada was relatively common. There's quite a like good op amount of opportunities for people to do that. I think maybe one of the things that changes in people when they go to Australia is a lot of people end up, being very comfortable with being in Australia and then they don't seek out those opportunities. So, yeah, a large proportion of people who were Canadian that were in my program didn't do electives, but that's because they didn't want to do electives and they didn't seek it out. Those who were very set on coming back to Canada, such as myself, and looked for those opportunities, we found those opportunities. The States, what I did was a lot more rare. I only know like a couple people who tried to do that type of approach. The States is a lot less regulated. So there's not really a central like elective finding system like the AFMC. You kind of have to just like reach out to different programs and say like, hey, like, hi, I want to come here. And usually they'll say yes. I mean, like there's not many reasons as to why they would say no. The one thing though is that they really do want you to have your first step done before you come and do an elective with them. So you have to kind of triage your step if you want to go and do your USMLE step is what I'm talking about, the exam, before you think that you're going to have that opportunity to go to the States. Otherwise, they won't accept.